If you're a woman over 50, what I'm about to tell you might shock you, but it could save you from making the biggest mistake of your second act. These are 7 brutal truths about dating at this stage of life that nobody wants to admit. Whether you're divorced, widowed, or you've been happily single, you need to hear this before you even think about getting a boyfriend. Society tells us that women need a man to be complete, that finding love again should be our top priority. But what if I told you that staying single might actually be the best decision you'll ever make? What if everything you've been told about needing a partner is actually working against your happiness? And what if choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's smart? This isn't about being bitter or man-hating. This is about facing realities that your married friends won't mention and that dating apps definitely won't tell you. So if you're ready for some honest conversation that goes against everything magazines and romance movies have been feeding you, let's talk about it. Reason 1, you'll become his nurse, not his partner. Here's the brutal truth nobody wants to say out loud. At 50 plus, when you date men in your age range, you're not signing up for romance. You're signing up for a healthcare manager position you didn't apply for. And I'm not being dramatic here. Let me paint you a picture. You meet a guy, he seems great, active, healthy, full of life. You start dating, things are going well. Fast forward 2 years, now you're managing his diabetes medications. You're reminding him to take his blood pressure pills. You're scheduling his doctor appointments because he won't do it himself. You're monitoring what he eats because his cholesterol is through the roof and he has zero self-control. And here's what really gets me. Men, statistically speaking, are terrible at managing their own health. They ignore or symptoms. They skip checkups, they eat whatever they want, and then act surprised when their bodies break down. And guess who ends up dealing with the consequences? You do. I've talked to women who thought they were getting a partner for their golden years. Instead, they got a full-time patient. One woman told me her boyfriend had a heart attack at 68. She spent the next 5 years managing his recovery, his medications, his diet, his exercise routine. Another woman said her boyfriend refused to go to the doctor for his back pain until he could barely walk. By the time he finally went, he needed surgery. She spent 6 months helping him shower, get dressed, and move around the house. And here's the part that makes this even harder. Women live longer than men. That's just biology. So if you get seriously involved with a man now, the odds are very high that you'll spend your 60s and 70s taking care of him as his health falls apart. You'll be the one driving him to appointments. You'll be the one dealing with insurance companies. You'll be the one making sure he takes his pills. Now, let me be really clear about something. Caretaking isn't romantic. It's exhausting. It's stressful. And it will absolutely destroy your own health. Studies show that caregivers have higher rates of depression, anxiety, heart disease, and just about every stress-related condition you can name. You'll be so busy taking care of him that you'll stop taking care of yourself. You've spent decades taking care of other people. Your kids, your parents, maybe even your first husband. You've earned the right to prioritize your own health and well-being now. Don't trade that for companionship that comes with a medical degree requirement. Reason 2, your money becomes his money real fast. Let's talk about something that makes everyone uncomfortable but needs to be said. Money. At 50 plus, you've worked your whole life building financial security. You've got your savings, maybe a 401k, maybe some investments. You've been careful, you've planned, you've sacrificed to make sure you're okay for the rest of your life. But here's what happens when you get a boyfriend at this age. Suddenly, your financial boundaries start getting really blurry really fast. And I'm not just talking about who pays for dinner. I'm talking about the real ways your hard-earned money starts disappearing. Let me walk you through how this typically plays out. It starts small. He's short on cash this month. Can you cover dinner? His car needs repairs. Can you help him out? And because you care about him, you say yes. Then it escalates. You move in together to save money, he says. Suddenly, you're covering more than your share of everything because he doesn't have as much saved up as you do. And here's what really gets me. So many women over 50 end up financially supporting men who simply didn't plan as well as they did. Maybe he went through a messy divorce and lost half his assets. Maybe he made bad financial choices in his 40s. Maybe he just never saved properly. Whatever the reason, you worked hard for 30 or 40 years to build your security, not to become his retirement plan. I know a woman who met a guy at 55. 6 months in, she found out he was drowning in credit card debt. She helped him pay it off, drained $30,000 from her savings. He promised to pay her back, never did. They broke up 2 years later. That was her emergency fund, gone. Another woman told me her boyfriend convinced her to refinance her paid-off house to fund his business idea. The business failed. Now at 62, she's got a mortgage payment again for the First time in 15 years. And let's talk about the blended family financial nightmare. His adult kids start watching every dollar you spend on their dad. They're worried about their inheritance. Your adult kids are watching every dollar he spends of your money. You're stuck in the middle of family financial tension that feels like a bad reality show. Here's the reality check. You didn't scrimp and save and work overtime just to subsidize some guy's comfortable retirement. You did it for yourself. You did it to have security and freedom and options. Protect that. Guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. Reason 3, you finally have your freedom back. You know what you've probably never had in your entire adult life? Real freedom. And I mean actual freedom, not a girl's weekend once a year. I mean the freedom to structure your entire existence exactly how you want it. Think about your journey. In your 20s and 30s, you were juggling everything, maybe building a career, maybe raising kids, maybe both. You had a husband's schedule to work around. You had kids' activities to coordinate. Your time was never really yours. Then in your 40s, you were still managing everyone else's lives, making sure kids got to college, taking care of aging parents. Still not your time. But now you finally get to do whatever you want, whenever you want. Want to wake up at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday? Nobody's judging you. Want to spend your entire Saturday reading and not talking to anyone? Go for it. Want to take a last-minute trip? Pack your bag and go. This is your time. After decades of putting everyone else first, you finally get to be selfish with your schedule and your energy. But here's what happens the minute you get a boyfriend at this age. All that freedom vanishes like smoke. Suddenly you're checking in about your plans. You can't just decide to go out with your girlfriends because you need to let him know first. He wants to know where you're going, when you'll be back. And look, I get it. That's what couples do. But you just spent 30 or 40 years doing exactly that. Haven't you earned a break? You're compromising on your time constantly. He wants you to come to his friend's barbecue on Sunday, but that's your day to relax. He expects you to be available in the evenings to hang out, but that's when you like to do your own thing. These seem like small things. They add up fast. And the social obligations. Suddenly, you're attending his family events where you barely know anyone. You're making small talk with his friends' wives about topics you couldn't care less about. You're spending your precious free time at gatherings you don't enjoy, all because that's what being in a relationship requires. Let me tell you what women tell me all the time. They say they feel trapped again. They thought they'd escape this after their divorce or after their husband passed. Instead, they traded one set of obligations for another set. Different man, same restrictions on their freedom. You've spent your whole adult life accommodating other people's schedules and needs. Everyone needed you. Now it's your turn. Don't give that up without really thinking hard about what you're trading away. Reason 4, the emotional baggage is absolutely overwhelming. This is something nobody wants to talk about, but it's critical. After 50, everyone has baggage. That's just reality. But here's the difference. You've probably done the work on you. Ours, you've gone to therapy, or you've talked to friends, or you've somehow processed your past and made peace with it. Men? Not so much. Let me be blunt. Most men over 50 have decades of unprocessed emotional trauma that they expect you to fix. They've never been to therapy. They don't talk to their friends about feelings. They've just stuffed everything down for years, and now it's all coming out sideways. And guess who gets to deal with the explosion? You do. Let me paint you a picture of what this actually looks like. You start dating a guy. He seems stable at first, then slowly the truth comes out. He's still angry about his divorce from 10 years ago. He brings up his ex-wife constantly, always in the context of how she wronged him. Or maybe he's got trust issues from being cheated on 20 years ago. So now he's suspicious of everything you do. He checks your phone. He questions where you've been. You're paying the price for something another woman did decades ago. Or maybe he's carrying grief he never processed. His first wife died and he never properly mourned. Now you're dating a ghost. He compares you to her constantly. You can never measure up to the idealized memory he's created. I've talked to women who ended up being unpaid therapists for men who should have gotten professional help years ago. One woman told me her boyfriend would have emotional breakdowns about his childhood trauma. Another said her boyfriend expected her to fix his relationship with his adult children. And here's what makes this so exhausting. You're expected to be understanding, patient, and supportive while he works through decades of issues he never addressed. You're supposed to be his emotional support system, his therapist, his cheerleader, all rolled into one. And let's talk about his relationship with his ex-wife or late wife. At this age, there's always an ex or a late wife in the picture somewhere. And that relationship, even if it's over, even if she's gone, is still affecting your relationship. You're living in the shadow of a relationship that's technically over, but emotionally very much still present. Then add in the complicated family dynamics. His adult kids don't like you. They think you're trying to replace their mother, or they think you're after his money. So now you're dealing with hostile adult children who make every family gathering uncomfortable. One woman told me she spent 3 years trying to win over her boyfriend's daughter, who refused to even be in the same room with her. Another said his friends still invited his ex-wife to events and not her. This is the reality of dating at 50 plus. You're not just dating a man, you're dating his entire history, his unresolved trauma, his complicated family, his lingering connections to past relationships, and all of that becomes your problem to navigate. Reason 5, you're set in your ways, and that's actually a good thing. Let me tell you something society really doesn't want you to hear. By 50, you're not set in your ways because you're stubborn. You're set in your ways because you've optimized your life. You've spent 5 decades figuring out exactly what works for you, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You know exactly how you like your coffee, not kind of. Exactly. You know what temperature you sleep best at. You've got your morning routine down to a science. You know your limits for social interaction. You know how much alone time you need to recharge. You figured out your whole system. Dating culture wants to tell you that you should be flexible and willing to compromise. But you know what? You've been flexible for decades. You compromised through your marriage. You adapted to your kids' needs. You've earned the right to have things your way now. But here's what happens when you get a boyfriend at 50 plus. All of a sudden, you're renegotiating everything. You're a morning person, he's a night owl. You like the house cool, he likes it warm. You eat dinner at 6, he doesn't eat until 8:30. Let me give you a real example. I know a woman who likes her house at 70 degrees. She got a boyfriend who insisted it needed to be 76. They fought about the thermostat for a year before she finally ended it. Sounds silly, right? But when you're uncomfortable in your own home every single day, that silly thing becomes a massive quality of life issue. And it's not just thermostats, it's bathroom schedules, it's food preferences, it's cleaning standards, it's TV shows, it's bedtime routines. Every single aspect of your daily life that you've carefully arranged suddenly needs to be negotiated. And here's the key point. The older you get, the more these compatibility issues actually matter. What you could laugh off at 30 becomes a serious problem at 55. You don't have decades to slowly adjust to someone else's quirks. Every day of comfort and peace matters now. You're not being difficult by wanting things your way. You're being honest about what works for you. After 5 decades of life experience, you know yourself. You've earned the right to prioritize your own comfort. Reason 6, his health will destroy your retirement plans. Let's get really honest about something that people avoid discussing. After 50, health issues accelerate for everyone. That's just biology. But here's the hard truth. Men don't take care of themselves the way women do. They ignore symptoms. They avoid doctors. They refuse to change their habits until something catastrophic happens. Let me walk you through how this typically unfolds. You meet someone at 55. He seems healthy, active, doing well. Fast forward 5 years to 60, now the health issues start showing up. Maybe it's high blood pressure, maybe it's prediabetes. By 65, the problems are getting worse. He needs medication, but he's bad at remembering to take it. So you end up managing his pills. And here's what nobody tells you. Instead of enjoying your retirement, traveling, pursuing hobbies, you're managing doctor appointments for 2 people. You're dealing with insurance companies. You're coordinating medications. You're watching someone you care about decline. One woman told me she planned to travel in retirement. She'd saved specifically for that. But her boyfriend developed serious heart issues at 67. She spent the next 4 years managing his care. They never took a single trip. Her travel fund got eaten up by medical expenses his insurance didn't cover. And here's the really harsh part. The caregiver burden falls harder on women. Even when both partners have health issues, women end up doing more of the caretaking. So even if you have your own health challenges, you'll still be the one managing his on top of your own. Studies show that caregivers have higher rates of depression, anxiety, high blood pressure, and heart disease. You'll be so focused on keeping him alive and comfortable that you'll stop doing the things that keep you healthy. You've spent enough of your life taking care of other people. So you've earned the right to focus on your own health and well-being now. Don't trade that for companionship that comes with a caretaking job you didn't apply for. Reason 7, the drama will drain every ounce of your energy. Life is short. At 50 plus, you understand exactly how short. You've probably lost people. You understand mortality in a way younger people simply can't. And with that understanding comes clarity about what actually matters. Peace matters. Calm matters. Contentment matters. Drama absolutely does not matter. But here's the brutal truth about dating at this age. Every relationship comes with drama. And at 50 plus, that drama is heavy, complicated, and exhausting. Let's start with ex-wives. At this age, most men have an ex-wife somewhere in the picture. Maybe they're still co-parenting adult children together. Maybe there are financial ties that never got fully severed. And you're going to hear about it constantly. You're going to be pulled into conflicts that have nothing to do with you. Then there are adult children who see you as a threat. They think you're after their dad's money. They're cold to you at family events. They question your intentions. And your boyfriend either doesn't notice or doesn't want to deal with it. One woman told me her boyfriend's son wouldn't speak to her for 2 years. Another said her boyfriend's daughter accused her of being a gold digger, even though she had more money than he did. And the family dynamics just keep multiplying. His sister doesn't trust you. There are grandchildren you're expected to buy gifts for, even though they're not your grandchildren and their parents barely tolerate you. You're being pulled into family drama that spans generations, and there's no escape from it. Every holiday, every family event becomes a minefield of tension and awkwardness. I've talked to women who say dating at this age feels like signing up to be a mediator, therapist, and punching bag all at once. You're solving his problems. You're mediating his family conflicts. You're dealing with his unresolved issues. Is this really how you want to spend your time? You've already dealt with decades of drama in your own life. You've raised kids through their teenage years. You've managed difficult family dynamics. Haven't you earned the right to say no more drama? Peace of mind is priceless. Why would you trade it for companionship that comes with constant chaos? Look, I'm not saying live alone and never talk to anyone. What I am saying is that the traditional boyfriend and serious relationship model might not serve you anymore, and that's completely okay. There are alternatives that give you companionship without all the complications. You can have male friends without the relationship obligations. You can date casually without the pressure of commitment. You can join social groups where you interact with people regularly without the drama. You can build a rich, fulfilling social life that doesn't revolve around one person. And you know what? Some women at this age find that they're happiest focusing on their friendships, their hobbies, their families, and themselves. They travel when they want. They spend money how they want. They structure their days exactly as they please. And they report being happier and more content than they ever were in relationships. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but what about loneliness? And that's a fair question. Loneliness is real, and it can be painful. But here's what you need to understand. Being in a relationship doesn't guarantee you won't be lonely. Some of the loneliest people I know are in relationships where they feel misunderstood or trapped. Loneliness when you're alone is hard, but loneliness next. To another person, that's devastating. And here's another truth. You can build a life that protects against loneliness without having a boyfriend. Stay connected with friends and family. Pursue activities that put you around other people. Volunteer. Join clubs. Build a community around yourself instead of depending on one person to fill all your needs. At the end of the day, this is about being honest with yourself about what you really want and what you're willing to sacrifice for it. Because make no mistake, getting a boyfriend at this age requires sacrifice. Sacrifice of your freedom, your money, your peace, your time, your energy. The question is, what are you getting in return that's worth all of that? But before you answer it, really think about it. Think about what you've built for yourself. Think about the peace and freedom you finally have. You've spent your whole life being what other people needed you to be. A good daughter, a good wife, a good mother. You've put yourself last for decades. Now it's your turn. Now you get to be selfish. Now you get to prioritize your own happiness and peace and comfort. And if that means staying single, then stay single. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, it might be the smartest, bravest, most self-loving choice you ever make.